Hello, the next film we're going to talk about is Rurangi 2020. This was the final film I saw during Pride season, which is the whole of the summer. There's a few films I hope to review from the summer months that I saw that were good, but this was one of the best, I would say. A really thought-provoking, fascinating film. One thing about it, you'll notice from the trailer, it says by us, not about us. And that is a very important message, since this is a film by the LGBT community, specifically by trans people, the central theme of the story. The star is Els Carrad, who plays Kaz Davis. He's a trans man. There's also Arlo Green, who plays Jem, a man whom Kaz used to have a relationship with before. And there's Arwina Rose Ashby, who plays Anna Hera. She's part of the LGBT community as well. At the start of the film, she's making out with another woman. It's quite clear from early on that she's distraught with Kaz having disappeared 10 years earlier. So she's quite angry when she sees him. And she just calmed down quickly because she really likes him as a friend, but she has been upset about him not being there. At the start of the film, actually, we see him driving, I think it's a Honda Civic, and he has a car crash. He goes off the road just at the city boundary. Was it town, city? It's a fairly small place, Rurangi. That's the name of the community in New Zealand. The story is about Kaz having returned home after spending 10 years away in Auckland, the capital of New Zealand. Now, I thought all three of these actors were formidable, and so many others in the film as well. One of the other characters is Kaz's father. Kaz rings up his father as he approaches Rurangi, but because he's trans, his father doesn't recognise his voice, so he gives up quite quickly. His father's tired, just woken up, he's confused, he doesn't know who has called him. Kaz goes to see Anna Hera, who works in a shop, and at the start she's having trouble with a customer who she's had difficulties with in the past, who appears to steal stuff, a shoplifter, and this customer is abusive towards Anna Hera, calling her a Maori. It probably is the case that we don't get the full story. I don't know for definite, but I was thinking it was quite an interesting parallel that if you're mixed race or you have other qualities that mean you identify in a particular way, if you identify as a Maori in this case, but other people don't consider you to be, maybe because of mixed parentage or other reasons, then it can cause a lot of similar problems. So I think there's that parallel that is shown in this film. There's so much like that really is explained clearly. And I think it's a really wonderful film for improving the understanding of LGBTQ matters as a whole, but specifically about being trans and all the obstacles that can be put in the way. And so going back to Kaz, I really love that his dead name is intentionally obscured. Kaz is the only name. Most trans people do not want to talk about elements of their past, don't want their dead name, that's the name they had before, previous name. They've moved on, they have the life that they want. It's no one else's business. It applies to everyone who knows a trans person. The film involves campaign leafleting. There's campaign leafleting at the start about LGBTQ, trans lives matter. He goes to a meeting at the start with Anna Hera. There's an environmental meeting, and that's another aspect that I really love about this film. There's crops being sprayed, and Kaz's mother contracted cancer and died in the intervening 10 years. So Kaz's dad is unhappy, really, really unhappy. His father thinks Kaz has betrayed the family. He doesn't understand how important it was for him to get away to Auckland to sort out his life, and also how devastating it must be for Kaz to have lost his mother. So there's an awful lot of grief. Kaz's father is now campaigning to get particular pesticides and other chemicals banned. There's a council hearing, a motion to be passed, and Kaz's father is proposing this motion. And there's a lot of disquiet amongst the other farmers who want to use cheap fertilizers, cheap pesticides, chemicals which they've been used to using, and they're quite unhappy with this proposal. This film covers so many different subjects, but in a really good way. And the deep passion on so many important subjects, and it really is helpful to seek to understand the other side. It's a principle from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And if you can put out some olive branches and attempt to understand the other side, that can help. It's very difficult. Sometimes it's not worth doing simply because the other side are just not willing to make any effort. Everyone needs to find a way of surviving, of thriving, of living well. And if people are putting obstacles in your way, and often it's totally disrespecting of dehumanizing the type of stuff that people say, then of course there's no point whatsoever. The best thing is to keep distance from these people as much as possible. Avoid them. But in this case, there are certainly some people whom the initial reaction is very difficult, and yet with a bit of time, with a bit of dialogue, the situation improves and understanding improves. Harmony is what ideally we'd all like in our lives on this planet. The only way of getting through this is by understanding, making effort to understand where there is a win-win possibility. As I say, sometimes there's no room. The other party is unwilling to make any effort, and of course you still need to live your life and you need to find a way to protect yourself. I'd score this 9.5 out of 10. It's like another of the highest scores I ever give for my films. There's a few great quotes in the film. Most people are idiots about other people's sexualities. And that's said by Anna Hera. Her sexuality is for her to define, not for anyone else. Other people making assumptions with her. There's such a focus on deep divisions in our society. How do we reach a way of working together with other people? Well, I think it's through understanding. It's through watching films like this for people who know someone who's trans in their life. This is a very worthwhile film. When someone's being generous in their spirit towards you, then being generous back is very important. Either side can make the effort. I mean, when it's a family and when there's a lot of difficulty, and there often is, because when someone is trans and the other family members don't understand how difficult it is to be in the wrong gender. It takes time, but it also takes a willingness from that individual to learn about what it's like to be trans. And that's the most important thing that they can do, find out. So they can make the effort, the trans person can make the effort when the individual that they want to be family friends with. If there's effort on both sides, then things can work out. That's the message I got from this film. If you've seen this film, I'd love to know your thoughts on it. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.